Tonight on the Final Play.
Breeze trying to fake people off, throwing to the left, comes back to the right side, and the catch is made for the touchdown by Thomas.
The Saints score early and often as the defense delivers pressures and picks.
We played a pretty good complimentary game. There'll be a lot we have to clean up, but I was pleased the players were able to get a win.
We've got reaction from Charlotte as well as analysis from Jim Henderson. Plus, quarterback is at the forefront for LSU and Tulane, and for two totally different reasons. We've got Ed Ogeron's explanation for making a change and Willie Fritz's praise for his gutsy signal caller. All of that and the best of high school football week 4 starts right now.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Final Play, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealer, built Ford tough, and Nissan.
Welcome into the Final Play. I'm Juan Kincaid, and very rarely is a Week 3 game the most important game for a team. But for the Saints, Game 3 versus Carolina was seen as a must-win because they couldn't afford to begin another season 0-3, could they? From their opening possession, the Saints looked like a team motivated to win their first game of the season, and they did. Sean Vazan wraps it all up from Charlotte.
The Saints came into Bank of America Stadium on Sunday to face the undefeated Carolina Panthers, who had the #1 ranked defense in the NFL, just hoping to find a way to win. And they did so in convincing fashion, beating the Panthers 34-13.
It was good to get one. Obviously, you know, there is that sense of urgency, and you know, oftentimes in our league, those are important. Those are important things to know.
But before the game even began, a buzz was built when 10 Saints players decided to sit in protest during the national anthem after President Trump's comments on Friday night.
After those comments yesterday, I decided to do something. And then all my teammates started joining me one by one.
So it wasn't like premeditated? It was
Not
just
at all.
kind of
Our team
in the
didn't
moment.
talk about it. I started getting emotional as it got to the point where the anthem was about to start, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to stand today. And like, I know how it's viewed for a lot of teams, a lot of owners, but at the same time, I thought it was more important. It was bigger than football for that moment.
Once the game got going, it didn't take Drew Brees long to get rolling. He carved up the Panthers' top-ranked defense with 4 touchdown passes to 4 different receivers, including one to Ted Ginn Jr., who got his first touchdown as a Saint against his former team.
Man, it was great. It was great. Ted's been a great addition, and there's a lot of things that he can do. Very versatile. I know a lot of guys touched the ball today. A lot of guys had, you know, their hand in this victory. But, you know, that's what we like to do as an offense. We like to spread it around.
3rd and 8 from the 38. Breeze.
Part of their offensive rhythm came from capitalizing on 3rd down. They were 6 for 12 on the day.
It's something, you know, we've worked on. We have to be. The guys did a good job. We spread the ball around a little bit, and thought Drew played well, and I thought we did a good job of running, you know, against a good front.
It also helped that they were able to get 3 extra possessions thanks to the defense, who intercepted Cam Newton 3 different times. One from P.J. Williams, one from Kenny Vaccaro, and one very impressive one from Marcus Williams.
I just tracked the ball, I seen it getting tipped. I just put my hand out, and when they go grab it, that's pretty much how it went. I mean, it felt good. You know, I try to do it every day in practice, get picks, interceptions, things like that. So when it came my way, you know, I just had to take best of the opportunity I had.
The win makes them 1-2, and now they'll head to London, finally riding some momentum in the month of September.
Felt great. Felt great to get a win. Felt great to break the seal. You know, I feel like we as a team have been making steps in the right direction, and it's just little things. You know, I think we all felt like we were a lot closer than maybe it seemed or felt. You know, just when you come away with 2 losses. You know, like that to start the season when, you know, there was such this sense of urgency to get things started fast.
Now joined by the voice of the Saints, Jim Henderson. And Jim, just like we all thought, right? 21-point victory here in Carolina. The offense, the defense, special teams, they were all on the same page. And look at the result. I mean, easily easily their best performance in quite some time.
Without question, they came into this game knowing what they wanted to do, and you'd have to say they probably did it all, with the exception of the Lutz missed field goal. They got an early lead. They were leading in the second half, where in the previous two games they were down by double digits. They pretty much stopped the Panthers on the ground. They made Cam Newton beat them. And I don't think Cam Newton at this stage of his career, with the injuries he's had and the lack of Greg Olsen and some of the weapons around him, would be capable of that, and he wasn't today.
You mix in 3 takeaways on defense combined with a much better third down efficiency, and you get an offense that all of a sudden looked like the Saints offense today.
Didn't turn the ball over for the 3rd straight game. Drew Brees, first time in his career, he's opened the season with 3 straight games without an interception. So the Saints won the battle of field position. They won the battle of turnovers. Now, they hadn't had turnovers in the first 2 games as well, but they had lost because they hadn't generated any themselves. So to get 3 interceptions like they did today, they capitalized with touchdowns after 2 of them.
And it's hard to argue with the results. It looked to me like Cam Newton, you can tell, it was really the first time since I've been watching the Panthers how much they depend on Greg Olsen, because when he was not there and then they lost Kelvin Benjamin earlier in the game, it looked like Cam Newton was lost.
There's no go-to guy with him. It became McCaffrey,
Right.
which everybody kind of expected, but he's not a down-the-field threat. He's a very elusive guy if you get him in space, but he's primarily a short passing game guy. And you looked at Greg Olsen in the past, he had days where he'd caught 10 passes against the Saints. And he's such a great hybrid, you know. He's almost a wide receiver playing tight end, kind of a Jimmy Graham sort of type, and so reliable as far as his roots and his hands. When he was lost to this team, it's the first time after 10 seasons he's missed a game. That was a big loss for them.
Saints improved to 1-2. We talked before the game, but getting a win here could all of a sudden stabilize your season, because now you go to London with a very winnable game against Miami, who just lost to the Jets very badly, by the way. So all of a sudden, it's the week-to-week existence of the NFL. All of a sudden, things don't look so bad, right?
No, and I think we had talked about it during the week. After the first 4 games of the season, prior to the season, if Saints fans could have said, well, at the worst, we want to get out of this at 2-2. Now they have that opportunity. 2-2 is not bad with the way the rest of the schedule looks. Played a couple of very tough teams in the first 2 games, lost to both of them. It was a little easier today against this team because of the people they were missing. But now, like you say, you go to Miami, win that game. I only know one thing. That's a lot shorter plane ride to London tonight than it would have been had this result not been the same.
And there's going to be some conversations on that flight, because, and we have to address this just because it was a story before the game. It became an even deeper storyline after the game of what we heard. I believe it was 10 players sat for the national anthem. 10 players. Those players talked about it after the game. Coach Payton talked about it after the game, said he was proud of those guys. However, Drew Brees opens his press conference. Didn't sound to me like he was in favor of the national anthem protests at all. So I'm just curious your take on what's become of this whole thing. Obviously, this was a strange week given what happened with President Trump and what he said, and you saw it around the NFL. But what's your take on where we're at with this thing right now?
Well, I think it's interesting in that this was pretty much, it had pretty much died out. You know, Kaepernick's whole idea, you know, he's not in the spotlight any longer. There weren't as many people demonstrating, but it was the remarks of the President of the United States, judging by what some of the people were saying in there, Sean Payton and Kenny Vaccaro and probably others. That's what spurred the most recent thing. And for the first time ever, you had Saints sitting on the bench. Didn't see anybody kneeling, but I saw 10 people on the bench, other people supporting them with their hands on the shoulder pads. Look, everybody comes at this from a different place, you know. Everybody's a different color, a different background. Some have been discriminated against, and well, I would say I never have, but I can appreciate the fact that other people feel like they do. I was listening in on your interview with Kenny Vaccaro, and I thought it was interesting. He pointed out right away, look, I'm a product of a mixed marriage. I am both white and black. This is not a black thing. It's not a white thing. It's a respect thing. And I think, like Sean said as well, it was the remarks of the President of the United States to be called what these players were being called when this was finally cooling off that just heated it all up once more.
I was just a little bit surprised, because you normally don't see Drew come out that strongly, and he pretty much was against what sounded like he was against what a few of his teammates did before the game. I'm curious how that's going to manifest itself as the season goes on. But Jim, the Saints are 1-2. Have a safe trip to London.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
All right.
Even though Jim is already on his way to London, he'll still be with us all day tomorrow, starting with the Black and Gold Rewind at 8 a.m. His commentary begins from across the pond at 5 o'clock. And while he won't be in studio for the Black and Gold Review show at 10:35, he'll still provide some analysis from the road. Prior to today's game kicking off, not only in Charlotte, but all across the NFL, players' actions during the national anthem spoke volumes. As a show of unity, some stood with arms linked, while many others decided to kneel, including 10 Saints players in protest to President Donald Trump's comments on Friday that players should be fired if they don't stand for the anthem. And prior to kickoff, the Saints released a statement from owner Tom Benson that said, in part, "Our organization takes great pride in equality and inclusion and find the comments by the president disappointing and inappropriate relative to our players on this issue." He went on to say, "We prefer to take this moment in time and work together, and all of us, to stop the divisiveness. We believe strongly in honoring our flag and the national anthem and what it represents, and we support our players. We all must strive to show that we are all Americans and continue to work towards equality for all. The NFL and NBA, perhaps more than any sports, have the power to bring communities together," unquote. If you want to read the Saints' entire statement and hear some of the team's extended comments, you can go to our FinalPlay app and to our website, fox8live.com. Here's just some of what was said, beginning with quarterback Drew Brees.
I acknowledge that there is inequality in this country and that there is, I acknowledge the protest. And I will say that they're justified in their reason. But again, I will never agree that it's okay to not show respect to the flag of the United States of America during the national anthem, that is the symbol of showing respect to our country. I won't. I'll never. I will. I don't think that that's okay.
I'm disappointed in the comments that were made. I think we need a little bit more wisdom in that office, and that's being a little blunt, but that's how I feel. You know, I want that guy to be one of the smarter guys in the room, and it seems like every time he's opening his mouth, it's something that is dividing our country and not pulling us together.
I think people are taking it Trump versus the league, Trump versus the NBA, but it's not about that. People need to see the bigger picture and don't see it as that. Guys don't really care about Trump. They're not sitting because of that. They're sitting from what Cap started, the movement he started. And I think people need to realize that it has nothing to do with our military. I love our military. My grandpa was in the military. One of my best friends served 3 terms in Iraq. Like, it has nothing to do with that. Yeah. Like, I thought about after the league maybe trying to do something, but it has nothing to do with that. It's about what's going on around the country. And unfortunately, I mean, our head coach supporters, I read his comments. I mean, that means a lot.
Coming up, Saints get their first win of the season, and their defense was a huge reason why. Chris Hagan has that part of the story coming up.
You're watching The Final Play.
The Saints' September losing streak was at 9 games, and now it's not, thanks in large part to a defense that put together its best performance of this young season. Here's Chris Hagan.
Newton pumps, pocket breaks down, he's hit from behind and the ball is free.
Just when we were ready to bury the Saints defense, who showed very few signs of life the first 2 weeks of the season, they play one of the best games we've seen in years against Carolina. The secondary, in particular, gave Cam Newton problems all day long with 3 huge interceptions.
Each week we make an emphasis on the takeaways and ball security offensively. But if you looked at this series, specifically this team, it was going to be probably one of the most important stats.
In fact, the team that's won the turnover battle in this series has won 4 of the last 5 games. This young group of Saints defenders is showing how much they want to change the reputation about the black and gold defense.
Yeah, it feels good getting takeaways. We've been doing it all week. We're all trying to build that culture of getting takeaways and making plays on the ball. So that's what we came out here today and did. So we're improving a lot. So it feels good to get this win.
For safety Kenan Vaccaro, who's had a little bit of a down year, it's a bit of redemption. After being benched against the Patriots, he was all over the field.
I'll always keep fighting, and I think that's one of the qualities that's going to keep me in this league a long time. No matter what the outside world says, no matter what criticism I hear, I'm always going to keep fighting. I mean, I got 2 kids, I got a family. I got to feed them. I'll never stop.
This is exactly the momentum the Saints defense needed to take to London, where they'll face Miami. As poorly as the Dolphins offense performed today, just 6 points against the Jets, it certainly feels like a good chance for the black and gold to get back to 500. Juan?
So now it's on to London for the Saints, and we want to make sure you know where you can get all of your coverage on the team while they're there. Yours truly, along with Garland Gillen, will be following the team all week long in London. Our reports begin Tuesday afternoon on Fox 8 News. You can also stay up to date on the team overseas on our FinalPlay app. The Saints and Dolphins will kick off from Wembley Stadium Sunday morning, 8:30 right here on Fox 8. Coming up, both LSU and Tulane won Saturday night, but why one team is probably feeling a lot better about their win than the other.
You're watching the Final Play.
Even when they win these days, it still feels like a loss to many LSU fans because the Tigers have not played up to their expectations this season. Last night against Syracuse, LSU, they were a 3-touchdown favorite, but they didn't play like it. And on top of that, they may have given themselves an unnecessary quarterback controversy. Chris Hagan has more.
It's not LSU if there's not some quarterback drama. And until last night, when Ed Orgeron put Miles Brennan in the game, there was none. Sure, Tiger fans wanted to see a little more of the true freshman, given the role that he'll have in LSU's future, but more important was winning. However, Coach O's decision almost cost them both the game and maybe some of Brennan's confidence. It was such an issue that Orgeron led his press conference with it after the game.
I know you guys been about the quarterback. We wanted to give Miles Brennan some reps when the game was on the line, see what he could do. And obviously he did well in some situations, got to get better in other ones. Danny is our starting quarterback, but we just wanted to give Miles a chance when the game was on the line.
It's a blunder that was near disaster. Until the Danny Etling to Stephen Sullivan touchdown near the end of the second quarter, the Tigers had just 76 yards of offense in the first half. 2 big pass plays gave them the lead, but it was hardly a sound offensive showing given how much Danny Etling was under pressure and running for his life.
There was too much penetration. The safety, we had penetration all night. Danny was under duress the whole night. So without watching the film, I'd say that Syracuse defensive line won.
One of the few positives, however, outside of inking out a close win, was showing some flashes of solid offense on a few drives. When the run blocking was there, it was as good as ever. And some of the deep shots did start to connect again. Etling credits that to the hard work of his receivers after a poor showing that was full of drops against Mississippi State last week.
So they came in and worked with me every night to improve on that. And that's a credit to them. We were on the same page, I thought, in a lot of aspects, and we were communicating and seeing the same thing. And I think that showed up a lot tonight. So the next aspect is to fix, some of the different things where we had pressure and move on from there. But we tried to fix what we had some mistakes last week with the passing game, and I thought we did a better job of that.
But clearly, nothing is a given anymore with LSU. They'll hope to find some sort of consistency next week against Troy, because after that, it's nothing but tough SEC games the rest of the way. Back to you.
Over at Tulane, how they started against Army was trumped by how they finished off the Black Knights. Garland Gillen has more on the Green Wave's march to victory.
On the very first play from scrimmage, Tulane's Dontrell Hilliard went 75 yards for the score. It appeared after the big run, Tulane would win their contest with Army easily, but that wasn't the case. Tulane trailed late in the game 17-14, but quarterback Jonathan Banks saved the day. He converted 3 fourth downs on the final possession, got knocked out of the game on the drive, and still scored the winning points on a 4-yard run.
I thought a sensational job by Jonathan Banks on the last series. He made a lot of plays on his own with his legs and with his arm, and he gives you a dynamic that you have that at quarterback. You got a chance. We got to do a good job this off week figuring out exactly how to use the guy. He's a unique player, and You know, sometimes he doesn't always draw between the lines, and that's okay.
We have to come through in clutch moments. It may be defense, it may be offense, it may be special teams. So, you know, that was good. That's what we worked for all summer, you know. Our workouts, you know, fourth quarter.
Tulane has played in only 2 bowl games this century, so wins like this don't come that often. So the program is no doubt basking in the moment of this monumental win.
I thought our program needed a win like this. I don't think Tulane's had a win like this in a couple decades. I don't know, for a while. So it was a big one. It was a big one.
Banks and his teammates will have some time to heal those wounds with a bye next week. The week after they host Tulsa, then hit the road for Florida International. Very winnable games to get them to that magic number of 6 wins. From Uptown, Garland Gillen, Fox 8 Sports.
Behind the career-high 176 yards rushing by running back Darren Johnson, Southeastern rolled to a 49-21 win over Lamar. It's their first win of the season. And as a team, the Lions ran wild. 366 yards on the ground. It's the 4th highest single-game output by Southeastern since the program returned back in 2003. They finished with a season-high 555 total offensive yards. The Lions defense also forced Lamar into 4 turnovers as Southeastern will try and keep that winning going. They're at Northwestern next Saturday.
We know we've got multiple guys that are really good players, and we've got some young guys sitting there too that we think can really be good running backs. So I feel real comfortable that stable running backs, and we'd have enough depth to hopefully overcome any situation that pops up. Other
games on Saturday, 23rd ranked Nicholls State. They had a tough time and a tough night at 3rd-ranked Sam Houston State, losing 66-17. The Bearcats scored 34 seconds into the game and never looked back. And the struggle was real for Southern as well, losing 48-31 to Alcorn State. The Jags' record falls to 1-3. And up the road in Lafayette, a real shootout between ULL and UL Monroe. This game needed double overtime for the Warhawks to get a 56-50 win. Quarterback Caleb Evans ran for 5 touchdowns and threw for 1 more. Coming up, we take it down a level to check out football stars of tomorrow. A wrap-up of Week 4 is on the way.
You're watching The Final Play.
And we're back with our catch of the week, and we had some choices in today's Saints-Panthers game, but it's the rookie, Marcus Williams, that gets the award. How about this one-hand grab for the INT? It was his first career NFL pick and the team's second in 3 takeaways in the game. P.J. Williams and Kenny Vaccaro were on the other ones in the 21-point victory. Our high school play of the week takes us back to Edna Carr's high-powered offense. Skylar Perry's pass tipped in the end zone, but look at the concentration by Michael Corner to haul it in. Full disclosure, a penalty negated the play, but that doesn't mean it wasn't worthy of our top play. And we've got a full recap of high school football Week 4 on our Fox 8 News app and fox8live.com. Plus, you can catch up on the latest recruiting news, check out our weekly power rankings, and preview next week's action. And of course, don't forget our coverage of the Saints in London will begin on Tuesday with reports from yours truly and Garland Gillen. But for now, that's our show for tonight. For all of us here at Fox 8, I'm Juan Kincaid. We hope you'll join us again next Sunday night for the Final Play.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been The Final Play.